What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with another edition of the Flyin Illini Breakdown. This is where I give you a pregame scouting report for the Flyin Illini's opponent. This time, it's the Wisconsin Badgers, and yours truly will be on the call with Jason Benetti for Fox tomorrow at 2 p.m. So looking forward to this one. I want to give a shout out to Jeff Haskins, Illini fan. He came on and messaged me on Bardo's breakdown, and we had a nice exchange, and I respect what he had to say. And he had some constructive criticism, which I'm always open to. So I appreciate Jeff Haskins for the shout out and the nice conversation and the feedback, because like a player, as a analyst, I want to do the best I can do. And so I appreciate Jeff Haskins and his honesty, because it's not easy to go on someone's page or their platform and kind of express something the way that he did. But in the way he did it, garnered a lot of respect from me. So thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Wanted to shout him out. All right. We're talking Wisconsin Badgers fighting Illini today. These teams are going kind of in opposite directions. The Badgers have lost 5 of 6 games. Injuries have really hurt them. Max Klesmit has been out. He had a concussion after he got hit in the head against Penn State at home. So he missed the last 2 games, and it's really hurt. But if you'll look and see, the Badgers are 11-2 when their starters are healthy. Now, I believe Max Klesmit is expected to be back against Illinois. I'm not sure that he'll be 100%. I know Tyler Wall is not 100%. He's been back a couple games from a severely sprained ankle. He's gutting it out, but he's nowhere near 100%. Stephen Crowell has been really good. 3 games of 20-plus or more points in the last 8. He's expanded his range. He's shooting the 3 with more comfort. He's shooting, perimeter jump shots. He's banging down low, to the point now where teams are starting to double team him in the post. In the beginning of the Big Ten play, he was able to really back down like some bigs, and people weren't double teaming him. Now he's commanding a double team in the post. So Stephen Crowell has been really good. Connor Essegian, the freshman, is coming off a career high 19 points versus Maryland. This guy has got some ice water in his veins. He's yet another freshman in this impressive freshman class in the Big Ten. I mean, you talk about Bryce Sensenbaugh, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Connor Essegian. I'll throw Pharrell Payne of Minnesota in there, Jaden Epps from Illinois. I mean, it's a really, really talented group of freshmen in the Big Ten this season, and Connor Essegian is among the best of them. Sharpshooter, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Every now and then there's a blown coverage or whatnot, but as a freshman, he's been really, really good. And he played 35 minutes the other night against Maryland. He led their team with 19 points, but he's been outstanding. So kudos to those 2 players. Tyler Wall, the aforementioned severely sprained ankle, he's trying to work himself back, but he doesn't have the explosiveness that he once had previous to the injury, but he's starting to get it back. Chucky Hepburn is struggling. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if mentally he's fatigued. He just doesn't have the burst, the separation, the pop that you've grown accustomed to seeing. He was never the most athletic point guard in the Big Ten. However, he was able to create space before this latest stretch. It's almost like he's a little lethargic. And so at some point, he's going to come back. I thought it was going to be against Maryland. Maryland did some really good things in terms of they started the game in some full court pressure. They changed defenses. They do as good a job as anyone in the country, because the Big Ten doesn't have a team that changes defenses like Maryland does. Maryland they'll go 3-quarter court pressure, back into a zone, and then the first 2 passes, they'll match up man to man. So they really keep you off balance. And they did a really, really good job of that against Wisconsin the other night at the Xfinity Center. And of course, Maryland plays well off of that home crowd. So Badgers really trying to get Tyler Wall back healthy, trying to get Chucky Hepburn back, some of that magic that we've grown accustomed to Chucky having. Now, he's still clutch, Chucky. He's still the guy that can take the last shot and hit it. But to me, he's been really passive. I believe he had, in their last game, let me look this up quickly. I think he had only 5 shots. I think he was 3 of 5 from the field, which, for him, he doesn't necessarily have to be the leading scorer, but he's been more aggressive, way more aggressive than that in the past. And Chucky Hepburn was 1 of 3. He had 4 assists. He had 4 fouls, so he got in foul trouble. But that was late in the second half when it seemed like the game was out of reach because Maryland won that game 73-55. He was only 1 of 3. So Hepburn's going to shoot more than that. He's going to be aggressive if Wisconsin is going to have some success. Moving over to the Illini. Illinois rebounded impressively against Ohio State. They were plus 14, held the Buckeyes to 60 points. At one point this season, Ohio State was top 5 offensive efficiency in the country. This is a talented offensive ball club. They've got guys who can score all over the floor, and the Illini did a really good job defending. The Illini are second in threes attempted in Big Ten play. They shoot 25 threes. They average 25 threes per game. And they only were 5 of 28 against Ohio State, but they still dominated the game. The final score was 69-60, but the game was never in question. Illinois was, for the most part, in the second half, the majority of the second half, they were up double digits. Ohio State really never threatened. And so to shoot that way from 3 and yet still win almost by double digits, that's a really good sign for the Illini. Another good sign for the Illini, 16 of 18 from the free throw line. Big time improvement from the 13 or 14 missed free throws against Indiana. And I'm going to say it, Terrence Shannon Jr., he's the best 2 guard in the Big Ten. I know Jet Howard had a little bit of some conversation there before his ankle injury. We don't know the status of his ankle injury, but hopefully he'll be back. But there's nobody at the wing position right now that's playing as well as Terrence Shannon. He's getting to the free throw line. He's shooting the 3 well. He's getting mid-range, and he's devastating on the fast break. So, I'm scanning the Big Ten in my mind, and there's not a 2 guard right now. Maybe Chase Audige at Northwestern. I mean, if you want to put Tyson Walker from Michigan State in that category, maybe. But outside of that, Bryce Sensabaugh, okay, I'll give you Bryce Sensabaugh is in that category, but nobody's getting to the free throw line, shooting the 3, getting out on the fast break, and defending. Terrence Shannon Jr. is the best two-way defender, best two-way player in the Big Ten right now. So he's outstanding. He's first team right now, Big Ten, in my opinion. Matthew Meyer, Coleman Hawkins were very close to double-doubles. Hawkins was 11 points, 9 rebounds. Meyer was 13 points and 8 rebounds, I believe. So those guys, and they're getting it easy. Matthew Meyer, his game was easy. Game came to him. He was efficient from the floor. He's already proven himself as a really good shot blocker. Illini lead the Big Ten in blocks. Illini lead the Big Ten in block shots. I'll get it out one way. All right, so getting into the scouting report, the Illini have won 5 of their last 6. They need to establish tempo against the Badgers, similar to what Maryland did. A lot of times this is the scouting report against the Badgers because they're so good at forcing teams to play their pace. And there's very few teams, in my opinion, maybe Purdue, maybe Illinois. Illinois certainly has the firepower to do so. But if you play Wisconsin's tempo, there's not many teams in the Big Ten that can consistently beat them at their game. Michigan State showed that they could. Michigan State won on the road at Wisconsin, playing a slower tempo. So the Spartans have shown that they can do it, but it's not a lot of teams that if you're going to go half court, not a lot of fast break opportunities, lower possessions in the game, it's tough to beat the Badgers. So expect the Illini to use a little bit of pressure, changing defenses. They might do some different things in the half court, maybe run and jump, double team, they'll change defenses up against the Badgers. And then for the Badgers, to me, you got to get Chucky Hepburn going early. I don't know what that's going to take because, again, I thought he's looked flat. He's looked a little lethargic. He needs to get going early because he's way too talented to take 3 shot opportunities on the road. If he's 1 of 3 on the road, and yes, he had 4 fouls, but that was late in the game. He was in the game for the majority of the game when the Badgers were trying to stay close to the Terrapins. So he's got to get going. Find Connor Esigian and Max Klesmit from paint touches. What do I mean by that? So Wisconsin runs their swing offense extremely well, great floor spacing. And so a lot of times the Badgers can either get in the paint via post, via dribble penetration, or via pass. And then sometimes they don't necessarily need to score from the paint. They can look and kick out to the wing for open looks from Lindsey, from Connor Esigian, from Max Klesmit. I'm making the assumption that Max Klesmit will be back against Illinois. I'm not certain on that, but he's yet another scorer, a guy that's a confident shooter from the 3. And so Connor Esigian has found his rhythm, coming off a career-high 19 points. If Esigian and Max Klesmit can loosen up and provide a little bit more offensive support for the Badgers, that really bodes well because Tyler Wall is still trying to come back. He might be 80% off of that ankle injury. He doesn't have that pop and explosiveness that we're grown accustomed to seeing. So they've got to find ways to get him layups early, maybe an early back screen off of their swing offense to get him in the post, one-on-one, point-blank range, get him an easy look early on to get him going. And, again, they need to control tempo and handle the Illini's pressure because Sincere Harris is going to pressure the basketball. Epps, Rogers, Melendez, they're going to get up into the guards of Wisconsin and try to make them uncomfortable. They're going to pressure the basketball. Can Wisconsin handle that pressure and get into their half-court actions and be confident in doing so? All right. Once again, I want to shout out my man, Jeff Haskins, a Illini fan. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you all for sending me messages. Feel free. That's why I have the platform. If you're on YouTube, the people on YouTube have been doing a great job. M. Bratz, Let's Toast Media, Michigan fan, Simeon Fuller. There's a few others that I'm missing, but thank you guys on YouTube. Send me messages. I like to get back to you as quickly as I can. My tribe on Facebook does a great job. I've got, people on LinkedIn that send me messages as well. So send me those messages. Give me a little time when I'm ripping and running. I had 4 games in 4 days. That was a tough stretch, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But shout out to Jeff Haskins for his note. Let me get over here. Looks like I got a few comments. What's up? Oh, happy birthday, Aaron Janoski. I'm glad that I wrote it. Okay, I'll check that out. Aaron Janoski is an excellent in-game announcer. His career is starting to take off. So happy birthday to you, my man. Andrew Moody of Zoomer Sports. Do you have a favorite Wisconsin-Illinois memory or moment? I've got a memory. It wasn't necessarily good, but in the old field house, the Flyin Illini year, Wisconsin spanked us by 20 and really that game probably cost us a Big Ten regular season championship. Indiana won by 1 game over us. That was a game kind of in the second third of the season. We were coming off a big win at Michigan State. Didn't really prepare properly mentally for that game. Went in Saturday afternoon off a quick turnaround from a Thursday night game and got spanked. Kirk Portman, Trent Jackson, Danny Jones, Willie Sims, they got after us. That crowd was electric, and they put it on us. So that's my memory from Illinois, Wisconsin. M. Bratz, what's good? Yes. The Illini are coming out of a brutal stretch. Wisconsin's in a very tough stretch right now. And so, but everybody has to go through it in Bratz. Every team in the Big Ten has their time when it's like 12, 13 days, no break. Game, practice, practice, game, practice, game, practice, practice, game. So it's very difficult, and it's really important that these teams manage both. But thanks for tuning in, and Bryce, appreciate you. When a big is dominating the poise, why does refuse to double cent? Okay. Corey Evans, that's a great question, because I've been asked that before, and sometimes I even wonder that. Why doesn't Brad Underwood double team a guy like Trace Jackson Davis? Here's the thing. Trace is unlike any other big in this conference. So he's got the mobility of a wing. So and what Mike Woodson and his staff have been able to do, Corey, is that they post up and they get the ball to Trace in different spots. So a lot of times Trace will get it on either block, but he also gets it on the wing, because if the team has showed that they will double team him, what Indiana does is bring him off the post a little bit. So he'll catch. It looks like he's posting, but he's about 10 to 12, 15 feet away from the bucket. He's catching, and they clear out that side for him. Now he can look over his shoulder and see if the double team is coming. Now, if you double team him off the block, he'll pick you apart because he's an excellent passer. But that's a great question. And I know that Illini fans have been frustrated sometimes with Underwood and his staff's maybe not inability, but decision not to double team in those situations. And I understand that. And, sometimes you scratch your head too. I mean, when Trace was going crazy, I thought the same thing. And I know that Brad's strategy was that if we held down everyone else and let Trace go crazy, we could still win the game. That was a game that wasn't going to be for the Illini. They were tired, and Indiana was ready. They were ready. They were rested, and they were ready for the challenges. So sometimes that happens, but I have seen since that game, I've seen the Illini run people in the post, and so they've changed their approach a little bit. But Corey, that's a great question. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for asking that. Most interactive analyst with fans. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you, man. How's school going out in Clemson, partner? I know that you guys have started your second semester. Clemson is balling in the ACC, and I bet the weather is a lot better there in Clemson in South Carolina than it is here in Chicago where it's snowing. But I hope you're doing well. I hope your second semester started off very well. Oh, my goodness. I got 2 tribe members whose birthdays today. Happy birthday, Kevin McDuffie. Kevin McDuffie and Aaron Janowski have been riding with Bardo's Breakdown from day one. Much big ups to both of you. Happy birthday. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you guys. Lex Waldez, I think I've seen his avatar. I don't know if I've seen you, Lex. If this is your first time, Lex, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you. We talked about how poorly that body language was during the Mizzou loss. Looking back, how much does our team look now? Night and day, they're playing hard. You know what, Lex? I give Brad Underwood a ton of credit because he wanted his team to emerge with leadership. He wanted to give the first 15 or so games. He wanted the team to allow them to have a leader emerge. And what happens is he got spoiled with Trent Frazier and DeMonte Williams. He got spoiled. He'll admit it. These guys are leaders. Ayo Dosunmu was a leader. They were vocal guys. They would pull their guys in like, look, this is not how we do things here. Come on, you got to pick it up. Player-led teams have a much better percentage of success than teams that have to have their coach on their back all the time. Because when you get to February and you've been hearing your coach yell at you since November, after a while you start to tune them out. You're like, oh, man, I'm tired of hearing this. It's human nature. And the intensity of college basketball and the frequency of games that come and the travel, and you still got classes, you got to keep up your classwork. You might have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, however way you go. And so it's a lot. It's a lot on these players. And what Brad Underwood was trying to do was allow this new group of players for that leader to emerge. Well, that didn't happen. So he had to go back and go old school Brad. So he had to be tough on them in practice. He had to do some things to get them going. And this is the result of what you're seeing Brad having to do in terms of giving more assistance to the team in terms of leadership. Obviously, the coach is the leader of the team. There's no question in that. That's every team. But the best teams that you see, there's a leader that emerges, or there are leaders that emerge on the team where they can really get after the players harder sometimes than the coach can, and the players will respond because they're out there busting their tail as well. So I hope that makes sense, but that's good observation on your part, Lex. Thanks for tuning in. Yep. See, Corey? See what I'm saying, Corey? That was a great question. I've been asked that a lot, so thank you for that. Making shots early and forcing tempo on defense is key for Illinois, no doubt. Joe Stovall, tribe member. Danger is going to need to score more than he did against Ohio State if this team turns into a physical Wisconsin game. Shannon reminds me of Corey Maggette based on his body build. All great points by my man, Joe Stovall, who's been rocking with me since day one. He's a tribe member. If you want to join the tribe, that's the number right there. Text me 312-847-2739. Again, 312-847-2739 to join the tribe. Thank you, Joe. As always, I hope you're doing well. Let's see. Philip, what's good, Philip? Has Goody missed enough games that NCAA would grant him an extra year of eligibility? Great question, Philip. That's a great question. And that's something that I know the Illini were very excited to get Luke back. I'm not sure. I can't remember the threshold, but I'll check on that. And because now I'm doing these previews and I'm going to do these Flyin Illini reactions. So Sunday, I'm going to react to however the Wisconsin-Illinois game turned out. And I'll ask the Illini staff what the criteria is for that. And hopefully I'll have an answer for you on Sunday. But thank you for that question. It's 55 degrees and sunny down here in Clemson. Being courtside in the locker room for our win versus Duke was awesome. Unfortunately, we have all three of our starting guards active today. Wow. All three? Man, because Clemson is tops in the ACC. So good luck to those guys getting back healthy, Andrew. I'm glad you're having a great experience. You deserve it, my man. These next two Illini games are going to be an instant classic, I believe. Illini leading, and they're definitely playing with great chemistry. If this keeps up, how far can they go? I say Final Four, definitely, depending on the matchup. Well, for me to say that the Illini would be a Final Four team, they've had consistency in the last 5 games. They've won 5 of their last 6. Are they talented enough? Certainly. Do they have enough depth? Certainly. Do they have guys that have won a national championship? Matthew Meyer, yes. Check. Do they have guys that have had tournament experience? Terrence Shannon, check. RJ Melendez, Coleman Hawkins, check. Luke Goody, check. We'll see. Definitely depending on the matchup. But do the Illini have the talent to reach the Final Four? There's no question about it. To me, the Illini are the most talented team in the Big Ten. And I'm not alone in that sentiment. I don't think that's a surprise to really anyone. However, it's usually the teams that are playing the best and the hottest at that point. Because, guys, if like in years past, the national champion, to me, you could kind of see, you kind of saw Kansas start to really hit their stride late in the Big 12 slate. And the Big 12 is, again, probably the best conference in the country. And so you could kind of see them start to pull together. You could see Baylor when they won the national championship. If you remember the Villanova team that beat Michigan, they're just dominant. You can see they had pros. This year in college basketball, it seems a little different, right? UCLA, to me, is a national title contender. Houston is a national title contender. But are they overwhelmingly dominant? UCLA has been as of late. Arizona popped them in a game that a lot of people thought Arizona would win. I thought Arizona was Final Four worthy, but they really have stubbed their toe in Pac-12. They could, rally to be that. But are they that right now? I would not say so. Kansas has kind of stubbed their toe as well. And that happens in conference play. When you're in competitive conferences with elite teams, with really good teams, that's going to happen. So I can't say right now that the Illini are Final Four worthy. The way that they're playing right now, they look really good, but they've got let me go to Illinois' schedule because the Illini is February. They got some work in February. Let's see. Bear with me here, ladies and gentlemen, on this beautiful snowy Friday afternoon. So the Illini are at Wisconsin tomorrow, back home on Tuesday versus Nebraska. I'm calling that game on Big Ten Network. They go to Iowa a week from tomorrow. I'm on that game as well with Jason Benetti. They come home to Minnesota, then it gets real. Rutgers at home, at Penn State, at Indiana, Northwestern at home, at Ohio State, Michigan at home, and they end the regular season at number 1 Purdue. So Minnesota is banged up. I don't expect them in State Farm Center to give Illinois too much trouble as long as Illinois is ready to play. But after that, Rutgers at Penn State, at Indiana, Northwestern, at Ohio State, Michigan, and at Purdue. Those last 7, that's a gauntlet. So Illini need to take care of business while they can, and we'll see if they can get hot at the right time. But thank you for that question. What's up, Thomas Dagley? Good to see you. Coleman needs a repeat of the Ohio State game. I think Coleman Hawkins, I think he's been playing well. I don't know if it was a mental thing where he just was turning down shots or whatever. And I believe he was 1 of 6 from 3. I'm okay with that because the dude can shoot it. If he's open, let it go. Let it go. Because he'll be 1 of 6 against Ohio State. He'll come back against Wisconsin and be 5 of 6. He's got that kind of talent. I don't have a problem with him when he is taking the game as it comes to him. Catch, rip, and go. Catch, shoot the jumper. Catch, put it on the deck and make the easy pass. Don't be Tragic Johnson out there. We've seen Coleman try to be Magic Johnson. He looks like Tragic Johnson. Get away from that. Make the simple play. I know he's on draft boards. My partner said that he is the latest draft board they looked at. He was the last pick of the first round. That stuff gets in these guys' heads. Listen, if they can take care of business where they are, the draft take care of itself. So when Coleman is doing what the game dictates, or he sees an opening and he can go make a play, go do it. That play when he caught an alley-oop and he looked like he was off balance and he spun and gave it back to Ty Rodgers for the dunk, there's not a lot of people that will make that play. Those are the type of plays, not necessarily him scoring, but I like him shooting. I like him scoring, but those are the type of plays that make him unique. And when he focuses on winning, the Illini are much better. So I'm with you, Thomas. Good to see you, my man. I'm a triber, but on YouTube, I am this guy. What's up, M. Brats? Real cold next week for all of us, they say. Yes, but it's February. And look, we've had a wonderful winter thus far, in my opinion. The winters that I've experienced in Chicago in the past, man, please. Y'all remember the polar vortex winter where it didn't get above 0 for about 2 or 3 weeks? You guys remember that? You remember that winter where we were getting 5 to 9 inches of snow every other week for about 6 weeks? I remember that. We haven't had any of that. So yeah, it's gonna get cold, but it's February. We're entering February in Chicago. I'm all right with it. Yes, Curtis. Me and Jason Benetti will be doing the Iowa-Illinois game, which, as you all know, is always fun. Let's see. Hey, Chris Joe, how are you, my man? Do you predict any Big Ten teams getting top 5 seeds in March outside of Purdue? A lot of basketball still left to be played, Chris. At this point, no. But Rutgers looks like they're starting to separate themselves. And if they can stay consistent, Rutgers could possibly get a top 5 seed. But I don't think it's going to matter with that team. Chris Joe, I'm telling you guys, nationally, they're not giving Rutgers enough credit. They stubbed their toe in a couple games, but think about this. Their first loss at Ohio State should have never been a loss because that was a controversial play. The Big Ten admitted that play should not have been allowed. And frankly, McConnell should have hit that free throw because if he hits the second free throw, it doesn't matter. They're up 4. No, I'm sorry. They were up 3. No, they were up 2. I apologize. If he hits that free throw and that shot goes in for Ohio State, they go to overtime. They don't lose. So Rutgers should have won that game. So that's one game. They got beat at Michigan State. Okay, there's no harm in, there's no shame in that. Michigan State matches up well with Rutgers. And then they lost to Iowa. Iowa was red hot. Peyton Sanford, that was one of his coming out games where he was hot. Murray played well, and they scored the ball well against Rutgers, and Rutgers just didn't shoot the basketball well. But when Rutgers is consistent, Rutgers has some tests coming up, and we're going to find out what they're made of. But right now they're 14-6, 6-3 in conference play, and they've won 3 of their last 4. So they got Iowa. They've got to go to Iowa tomorrow. They got Minnesota at home. They got Michigan State at home. Then they go at Indiana, at Illinois, and I have both of those games. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. And then you look at let's look at their last 5. Rutgers has to go to Wisconsin. They got Michigan at home. They go to Penn State, who they just beat handily at home. They go to Minnesota. Then they finish at home against Northwestern, who they've already beaten. So they've got a favorable stretch down the stretch outside of their next 5 are challenging. At Iowa, Minnesota at home, Michigan State at home, at Indiana, and at Illinois. But once they get past that, they have a pretty favorable schedule to close the regular season. So that coupled with an opportunity at the Big Ten Conference Tournament, Rutgers could have a chance at a top 5 seed. Great question, guys. You guys are balling today. Y'all coming correct. Let's see. Sean Timothy, I really hope Illinois is finally building some momentum to the postseason. Tough road to get to the Final Four, but not out of the question. Certainly not. No. Guys, this Illinois team, think about it. They've got veteran play in Matthew Meyer, Terrence Shannon Jr., Coleman Hawkins. They've got a guy that can go get you a bucket and get to the free throw line in Terrence Shannon and Matthew Meyer. They've got really good guard play. And what we're starting to see is that these freshmen, Sincere Harris, Jay Nepps, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Like, the Illini are riding with 2 freshman guards. And they're doing a really good job. So maybe they could buck the trend in the conference. We'll see. I mean, in the NCAA tournament, we'll see. Do the Illini have inside scoring? Dane Danger? Think about it. You get outside of conference and people will maybe look at Dane's numbers and be like, oh, okay, we can go man up on him. Dane Danger, nobody's really playing him man-to-man right now in the Big Ten. He's getting double teams. He's getting different looks. So Dane can get you double figures in the post and get to the free throw line. Did the Illini have depth? Yes. Can the Illini shoot the 3? They shoot 25 threes a game, second behind only Penn State in the Big Ten. They got all the ingredients. Can the Illini defend? They held Ohio State to 60 points last game. So they have all the ingredients. Can they put it together at the right time? That's the question, Sean. But no, this team's got all the ingredients. And I haven't even mentioned RJ Melendez and Ty Rodgers. RJ is starting to find his shot, and he's doing a good job of getting on the perimeter. He's always been a really good defender. And Ty Rodgers, and I like the combination. One of the tribe members said Coleman Hawkins and Ty Rodgers have a really nice chemistry together. When they're on the floor together, they do some really special things on both ends of the floor. Defensively, they get after people. They switch well. They rebound well, and both of them can initiate the fast break. And then on the offensive end, Rodgers knows exactly where he needs to try to score. Cutting, slashing, offensive rebounds. Coleman doing this, shooting the three, cutting, putting it on the deck, and they play well off of each other. So they line out, they have everything. And if Luke Goody comes back, that's yet another consistent outside shooter, strong defender, 6'7" on the wing. They've got everything they need. Michael Hogue. Hey, Steve, how are you doing today? Have to tee you up for not getting to my DM a couple weeks ago. Sent your message. I apologize, Michael. That said, if Bama and Purdue play tomorrow, who wins and why? Great question. Ooh. You know what? I didn't mention Alabama in that group. Alabama can win the national championship. I like Alabama. I like them a lot. A lot. I don't know how I forgot about them, but they are the truth. Brandon Miller is the truth. Brandon Miller might be outside of Edie. Brandon Miller's maybe the second best player in college basketball right now, freshman. If you haven't seen Alabama play, go check out the Crimson Tide. They're the real deal. And let me make sure and check this, but Alabama has continued to be on a roll under some unbelievable circumstances. If you guys have been following what's going on with their program, they've had a teammate that looks like he's going to be convicted of murder. It's a terrible situation. And Alabama has ripped off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They won 13 of their last 14 games. The last time Alabama lost was to Gonzaga, 100-90, December 17th. They're a buzzsaw right now through the SEC, and Mississippi State gave them a close game, but outside of that, they haven't had a single-digit win. Wow. They haven't had a single-digit game since their win at North Carolina. That was November 27th. That was 103-101 and 4 overtimes. They lost by double digits to Gonzaga, but I'm sorry, they beat Houston by 6. They beat Memphis by 3. But every game out, and those were in early December. Since that time, they have not had a single-digit win. Everything has been double digits except their last win against Mississippi State. This is a dominant team. Who would win today? I'd have to give the nod to Alabama because I think their pressure would get to the freshman guards. We've seen Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer be outstanding, but we've also seen them struggle against pressure. Maryland kind of exposed them in the second half of that game. Alabama's athletes are bigger and quicker than Jameer Young, Ian Martinez, Don Carey of Maryland. So if I had to say right now, if they were to play tomorrow, I'd say Alabama would win. Not by much, but it'd be a close game, but Alabama's the truth. They are my national title contenders. That's my number one title contender right now, Alabama Crimson Tide. Great question. Going to be hard seeding this year. Yeah, Curtis, it's hard every year. Seriously. Just things shake out the way they do. It's always hard. Do people on Bardo's Breakdown realize how good Rutgers is? No. Purdue is like an old heavyweight champion. They took Michigan in the deep water and drowned them. Edie is a problem. Joe, and I've said this on Big Ten Network before. Nationally, because it's not Michigan, it's not Michigan State, it's not Ohio State, it's not Indiana, people think the Big Ten is down. They don't give Purdue and Rutgers credit. Those two teams can go anywhere in the country right now and win games. They can go in the SEC and win games. They can go to the Big 12, they can win games. They can go to the Pac-12, they can be the top of the conference in the Pac-12. They can go to the Big East and be top of the conference in the Big East. These are two elite. Rutgers is an elite team. So Joe knows of what he's speaking. These two teams are rough and rugged. They're Rutgers especially. Once Rutgers gets out of conference play, I think people will be sleeping on them a little bit. That's a second weekend NCAA tournament team. That's a regional team, meaning that they'll win their first and second round matchups and get to the Sweet 16 Elite 8 level. That's how good Rutgers is. And I think Purdue is similar, if not even better. I have to say that Northwestern game could be an L in the State Farm Center. It could be, Michael, if they're not ready to play, because if you remember, the Illini fouled Northwestern like crazy. Northwestern shot 40 free throws that game. And so Underwood was really upset with the way that they were fouling and out of position defensively, but they're much improved since that game. And so that game is going to have a different complexion in the State Farm Center when they hook up. Still going to be very competitive because Northwestern, in my opinion, is a tournament team. They're a really good defensive ball club. Their guards can take over games. Nicholson is doing a really good job up front defensively and on the glass, and Robbie Barron's starting to reach his potential. So Northwestern's a good team. I hope that Julian Roper is not seriously injured. He really tweaked his ankle pretty badly against Wisconsin earlier this week. I haven't heard an update. Ty Berry came off of a slight ankle injury and had a monster game last game in the Northwestern's win. So they're legit. Phil from the West Side, Sergeant McClain or Roger Powell available to defend Trace Jackson Davis or Hunter Dickinson. Sergio McClain couldn't guard those guys. Sergio would not have the foot speed nor the size. Sergio was big and strong for a wing. Trace Jackson Davis is so quick. He's so athletic. He wouldn't be able to guard him. Now, Roger Powell's a different story. Roger Powell with that long wingspan, the quickness, his jumping ability, he would have had a much better chance of guarding those two. Sergio wouldn't have, though, but that's funny. That's good. Phil from the West Side. I love that. Let's see. Sean Timothy, is it just me or do Ty Rodgers and Sincere Harris not get enough credit? Young, yes, but I love the hustle and fire I see out of them. Oh, no. Maybe not from a media standpoint, Sean, but from a coaching standpoint, Sincere Harris and Ty Rodgers are highly – that's why Sincere's starting, because he gets that engine going defensively. And anytime you got a guy that plays that hard, the rest of your team is like, man, he's not going to show me up. I got to get out here and get after it, because if I don't, I'll go sit on the bench. And the bench is the ultimate motivator. And Sincere Harris plays like when he goes and sits on the bench, he gets an electric shock that's uncomfortable. He doesn't like being on that bench. So he plays as hard as anybody in the country. I said it. Sincere Harris plays as hard as anyone in the country. Opposing teams hate to see that dude coming because he's always there. You make a good move and you think you've shaken him. You think you've shaken loose from his defensive ability. Shoot, you look up, he's right back up under you, looking at you. You know, gritting and all that. He's a Tasmanian devil on the defensive end. Ty Rodgers, I've been saying this, guys. Those of you that watch Bardo's breakdown, Ty Rodgers is a consistent jump shot away from the NBA. He's already on the NBA radar. It's just people, you know, he's not a fluid offensive guy yet, but it will come. It will come. So yeah, I know how important those guys are. I love them. They're right after my cut from the same cloth. I was a defensive dude. I love that. So, yeah, they may not from a media standpoint shine overall, but no. Go ask Chris Holtman, the head coach at Ohio State, about those two. Go ask Tom Izzo at Michigan State. Go ask Mike Woodson in Indiana about Ty Rodgers and Sincere Harris. They'll tell you. Oh, okay, Michael Hogue. I'm not from Chicago, but from West Lafayette, and okay, that's cool. I like that. Kip Jones, Purdue great. I mean, Purdue great, y'all. Go back and look him up. Was on great Purdue teams. Excellent power forward. Says IU will finish top 4 in regular season. Do you see them being top 4 right now? Let me go back, Kip, and look at that real quick. Let's take a look and see where Indiana is currently and where we expect them to be come at the end of the I'm thinking you're saying, let's see. Okay, regular season. Yep. So let's take a look at the standings. Coming right up here. Okay, so Indiana is currently a half game out of third. They're a half game behind Michigan State, whom they've beaten. They're a half game in the loss column behind Northwestern and Rutgers. So Indiana's right there. Okay, with wins over Illinois, Michigan State, and in Wisconsin recently. But let's see what they have left on their schedule. So Ohio State tomorrow, at Maryland, always tough. Home against Purdue, great game. Home against Rutgers, I'll be calling that one. Really looking forward to that one. At Michigan, at Northwestern, home against Illinois, at Michigan State, at Purdue, home against Iowa, home against Michigan. That's a tough stretch. Trace Jackson Davis is healthy. Race Thompson is back, trying to work his way back in. But give him 2 weeks, he should be really, really good. Xavier Johnson, I would expect to see Xavier Johnson maybe around that Northwestern or they might wait until the Big Ten Conference tournament, depending on how well they're playing. But I mean, Indiana currently sits third right now, well, fifth in the Big Ten, but they're a half game out of third. So top 5 in the top 4, definitely not out of question. They're only a half game out of the top 4 right now. Let's see. When is the next time I will be going to Mackey Arena? Let me glance at my schedule really quickly. I know it's not far because I got Purdue at Maryland on February 16th. I thought I had Purdue early in February. I guess I don't. I got them on the road. Purdue at Maryland. I thought I had them before that. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, it kind of runs together at this time of the year. Yeah, no, I got Purdue one more. No, I got them twice, but no, I don't come back to Mackey, unfortunately. That's what I love that place. Love going to Mackey Arena. Our vantage point is center court, and it's like right at court level, so you can see different angles. I love that place. I love the way that they play. I love their fan support. Their SID staff, led by Chris Foreman, is one of the best in the country. I love working with Purdue. Love that place. Good question here, Curtis Dietz. How will Big Ten teams get seeded? 4 to 5 seeds, except for Purdue, who will get a 1 or 3 seed. Then a lot of 7 to 10 seeds. I think it'd be a lot of 7 to 10 seeds at this point, but we'll see because Rutgers is starting to separate themselves. To me, they could be in the running for a top 5. if Illinois got caught fire, if they stay hot like they are, maybe they can sneak into a top 5 because they've been nationally ranked. And to me, that seeding stuff is a lot of perception. They probably wouldn't like me saying that, but that's just my opinion. Let me get to somebody. What's up, Dave Crosby? Would you like to see Illinois play some zone defense? I don't really. I guess I guess if it helped Dave, if it put some opponents off balance a little bit, maybe. But Underwood and his staff, they don't like zone defense. I think Underwood likes to dictate. He likes to try to dictate what other teams are going to do based on defensive pressure, and I like that style. I appreciate that. Sometimes when you go zone, it can be a little bit more passive. Now, Syracuse obviously is the king of zone defense, and they're able to be more aggressive because that's their main defense. But generally, if you don't play a lot of zone defenses tend to get a little bit more passive. So I don't think that Brad Underwood wants to get passive defensively, and I can understand that. But can a zone help you sometimes when you get in foul trouble? There's no doubt about it. Will you see the Illini go zone? I doubt it. But good question, Dave. Can Illinois go deep in the tournament without a true point guard? TM, thank you for that. I think so. I think you guys don't like Epps at the point guard position? You don't like Jaden Epps? I mean, he was a scorer back in the Tidewater area in high school, a big-time scorer. But I think he's done fairly well. And it's not like they need those guys to score, even though Jaden is right just shy of double digits per game. The Illini they've got 5 guys. 3 of them are in double figures, and Jaden Epps and Coleman Hawkins are 9.7 and 9.6 points per game. They're just shy of 5 players in double figures. He doesn't have high turnover numbers. He's got good assist numbers. He's shooting the 3 at a decent clip. Well, let me see what he's shooting the 3 at. He's shooting 43% from the field, 35% from 3. Sincere Harris is not really known as a shooter. He's struggling, but they don't need them to score. So, yeah, I think they can. I think with all that they have, because Terrence Shannon can come back and handle the ball under pressure. Meyer can handle the ball under pressure. Coleman Hawkins can handle the ball under pressure. Ty Rogers can play the point guard if need be. I don't necessarily like RJ Melendez handling the ball against pressure. He seems a little shaky sometimes, but those other guys can. Dory Melman Petzerio, what's up, Dory? Tribe member. Do I have a Billy Packer story? God rest his soul. Billy Packer left us yesterday. It was announced. I believe it was yesterday. Billy Packer, longtime college basketball analyst for CBS. He was an outstanding guard at Wake Forest in his ACC playing days. Billy Packer was a opinionated analyst, and there were a lot of people in my family that did not like Billy Packer. I think some of his opinions were pointed. Maybe they weren't as positive towards me. I didn't care because I was playing, but there were some family members of mine that did not seem to care for Billy Packer too much. I thought he was excellent at what he did. He was the top guy for a long time in this industry. And I think that he represented college basketball well for a long, long time. Billy Packer did it I don't know if he's done it as long as Bill Raftery has done it, but he's up there for longevity, maybe 30 plus years, I believe. So rest in power, Billy Packer. Blessings go out to you and your family. And, a life well lived. I saw a picture on Twitter of him and his extended family. I believe it was his children, his grandchildren, and it looked like there was a lot of love in his family. So a devoted husband, a devoted father, and he was really, really good as a color analyst. So that's what I have to share there. But thank you for bringing that up, because he needs to be shown some love, because he was one of the industry's standards in terms of color analysts covering college basketball. Hey, Carol, good to see you. Tribe member. Get to somebody else here. Okay. See, Michael Hogue coming through like a champ. Billy worked 34 straight Final Fours, and his son Mark is a great guy. There you go. Thank you, Michael Hogue, for that. So, yes, Curtis Dietz, Carol Polpaquette, and Joe Stovall been rocking with me since day one. So, no doubt about it. Hold on for a second. Let me clear that. All right, y'all. That'll do it for this edition of Flyin Illini Breakdown. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll come back Monday with a Bardo's breakdown to set up the week of Big Ten basketball. I'll come back tomorrow for another Flyin Illini reaction. Let's talk about how the Illini and Wisconsin game went. Best of luck to the Wisconsin Badgers. Best of luck to the Fighting Illini tomorrow in nationally televised game at 2 o'clock on Fox. Me and Jason Benetti will be on the ones and twos. Hope to call a great game. Hope we get a great game. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, holla, y'all.